You're shedding all the things, unraveling all the things, and taking your power back.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And trusting yourself.
Yeah. And now I'm like, wow, I really have such a clean slate. Be careful what you ask for. Because I did in 2019, I said, I feel like I need a clean slate. And I got it.
75% of women deal with imposter syndrome. They look around and they, make decisions by consensus instead of like, maybe I actually know the answer inside. And
we do.
Have you ever talked about that and shared this?
I have not. I'm sitting here being like, wow, I don't have my dogs here, don't have a partner, don't know these people. And I'm like, I've never felt more stable. I've never felt more secure. I've never felt more consistent. I've never felt more loved. And I've never felt more loved by the people around me that I do right now. Pretty cool.
It speaks to how whole you are that you can sit at a wedding with your ex-husband and his girlfriend and be like, it's so beautiful.
It really was.
Woo! That's power. That is power.
I woke up before my phone even rang, and I knew. And I picked up the phone, and my assistant at the time was just like screaming. I've never had coyotes in my yard. I have gates and everything. And that they went together. One, I'm so grateful they went together. Two, I'm grateful that usually how it happens is very quick and that we got their bodies. But at that time I was like, oh, that was like the unraveling of like the absolute safety of like unconditional love. And I know I'm ready to like open my heart and experience what this means. On this energy retreat, we talked about soul fragmentation. When something really tragic happens and a piece of your soul gets fragmented and it goes with whatever happened. And so for sure, I felt my soul fragmented and that they were still with my girls. And so I did like a retrieval of bringing my soul back and also giving their piece of them back to them too. Because I realized, oh, I'm holding them back also. Like they need to be able to move forward and move on. There was a piece of me that never felt whole in the last few years. And when I did that, I felt very whole after that. And when that happened, I went home and I wrote a song for the book.
You wrote it in a way, though, where everyone's going to go on their own hero's journey through it, right?
Yes. I'll ask myself questions, and the answers will just come up so quickly because the wisdom of earth, the wisdom of yourself in being grounded. We all have all the elements.
Earth, air, water, fire. And you mentioned your quiz. I took it.
You did.
And I did. Earth was my dominant one.
I also want to point out, Oprah is very earth.
Yeah. And what you're saying now too is like you're wanting more earth.
Yes.
Right? So it's interesting how energetically people can just kind of connect or kind of see. How often do you have supernatural experiences? Have you ever seen something happening?
I like stood up and my heart opened and my hands like literally went behind me like this. And I was like, whoa, I feel so loved. This is God, you know? And so as that happened, my heart started opening, little God winks, little gifts pop into your life. You're able to receive them and have that trust and that knowing that there is a design and a plan at hand, and when you're open to receiving and trusting in yourself, trusting in whatever you want to trust in, that it's working for you.
The Emmy Award-winning, two-time Dancing with the Stars champion, and now host of the show, award-winning actress, performer, singer, songwriter, producer, entrepreneur, and author of the brand new book, Everything We Never Knew. Julianne Hough, welcome to the Jamie Kern Lima Show.
Oh my goodness.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this community to hear more interviews and one-on-one conversations with me and you to help you truly believe in yourself, trust yourself, and know you are enough so that you can become unstoppable in living your best life. All I want you to do is click on the follow or subscribe button on the app that you're listening or watching this episode on. I love your support. It's incredible to see your comments and how many people you're sharing these episodes with. And I'm so grateful to be here with you, and I'm excited to go on this journey with you. So thank you for subscribing and following the Jamie Kern Lima Show. It means so much to me. Who you spend time around is so important, as energy is contagious, and so is self-belief. And I'd love to hang out with you even more, especially if you could use an extra dose of inspiration, which is exactly why I've created my free weekly newsletter that's also a love letter to you, delivered straight to your inbox each and every Tuesday morning from me. If you haven't signed up to make sure that you get it each week, just go to jamiekernlima.com to make sure you're on the list, and you'll get your one-on-one with Jamie weekly newsletter and get ready to believe in you. If you're tired of hearing the bad news every single day and need some inspiration, some tips, tools, joy, and love hitting your inbox, I'm your girl. Subscribe at jamiekernlima.com or in the link in the show notes.
Jamie Kern Lima is her name.
Everybody needs Jamie Kern Lima in their life.
Jamie Kern Lima. Jamie, you're so inspiring. Jamie Kern Lima.
Right now, 75% of women deal with imposter syndrome, especially executive women. They think like, oh, I'm not enough to be in a boardroom on my own, or they look around and they, make decisions by consensus instead of like, what, maybe I actually know the answer inside. And
we do.
And we do. And when you talk about putting these people up around you to keep you safe, and I know, in your career and in your profession, it's easy for, I would imagine, for someone who has had a #1 album and hosts one of the top-rated shows on television and is in a movie with Tom Cruise and all the things, to have a lot of people around you. And it's funny when I think about friendships often in my life, because you really do often learn about people over time, and you learn, oh, can they grow with you? And maybe if they don't understand, can they actually just be there for you, right? And I always think about a quote that Oprah said once, where she said, you don't just want friends that ride the limo with you, you want friends that will ride the bus with you when the limo breaks down. And, I've found in my life, you kind of always learn who those people are over time, and sometimes they've been there from your childhood, sometimes they're new coming into your life. But I would imagine, in your situation, that it's you're just going to be around naturally a lot of people because you're in the limo, right? So you have other people that are also in the limo, and you have all this stuff going on. But when it comes to your career and decisions and, being a star from such a young age, winning dance competitions from such a young age, because you've kind of shared a little bit about the role of your family and your parents, and then the role about seeking that protection inside of a marriage, and then the role of what happens when you go from, that little girl having space to heal to becoming the woman. And have you seen unraveling of relationships also?
Absolutely. And I'll never forget it. I was on my way to a wedding, and there was something that happened. I landed at the wedding. I had no service, and I didn't have my dog there. I don't have a partner that I'm in a relationship with. I was at a wedding where I knew the bride and the groom, no other people at the wedding. And I'm sitting here being like, wow, I don't have my dogs here, don't have a partner, don't know these people. And I'm like, I've never felt more stable. I've never felt more secure. I've never felt more consistent. I've never felt more loved. And I've never felt more loved by the people around me that I do right now. pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because you're shedding all the things, unraveling all the things, and taking your power back.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
And trusting yourself.
Yeah. And now I'm like, wow, I really have such a clean slate. Be careful what you ask for. Because I did in 2019. I said, I feel like I need a clean slate. And I got it. It took about 4.5, 5 years. But
for the person listening who's scared to let something unravel that they know is not right for them, can you explain and share to them what you felt like that day and what you feel like right now?
Yeah.
Even talking about this did all unravel and some of it really, really sucked. And yet you've never been more whole.
You know what's crazy too? Clearly this is a cycle because last night I told you I went to a wedding. My ex-husband was there with his girlfriend. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And again, like I'm in this place where I now feel like I'm just beginning with so much wisdom, with so much insight, with so much compassion and so much empathy and understanding of like what's possible, and having the extreme of like, will this ever end? To, oh my gosh, like I get to like literally design and create the life of my dreams and know that every decision I'm going to make is going to be from here. And that like, you know, it still doesn't mean it's going to be this perfect life. I don't want a perfect life or whatever perfect means. I want a full, beautiful, connected, you know, you feel joy because you feel sorrow. You feel all these things because you have the spectrum to feel it. You have the space to feel it. And that I think is what we're here to experience, is the fullness of life, not the pieces that just you think work. But the expanse of everything. And so, yeah, for people listening, I mean, when you trust yourself, it's so simple.
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's easy. And not that, and I, you know, I don't also have this like martyr complex where I'm like, I have to go through hard things in order to feel like I have done enough.
Right.
But I did. And so now I'm like, cool, I've done hard things. And like, it's just another thing I can do. You know, like I don't need to go through hard things, but I went through a lot of hard things. And what we talked about earlier, I don't plan on doing this every 30 years where it's like this like long list of things I need to, you know, attack head on versus avoid. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, and not trust myself.
It speaks to how whole you are that you can sit at a wedding with your ex-husband and his girlfriend and be like, it's so beautiful.
It really was.
Woo! That's power.
It was.
That is power.
Yeah, it was, again, like, it was beautiful. Yeah. And yeah, I don't even have other words because it was beautiful.
Almost it's like, did it sort of transcend the old you that maybe would have had different feelings around friends that didn't evolve with you, or your ex's girlfriend, or
they were all there.
They were all there.
They were all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, like didn't have a partner, nothing, like just doing my thing. And like, I used to think, I mean, I was in a relationship always. And so like, that's why, like I said, not having a partner, because I definitely associated that with like, and by the way, I still do a little bit, like I would like to have a partner and build a life with somebody and have a family. And And so, that's still like where my heart is open. But I am like, yeah, I don't know. I'm content, which content used to scare the shit out of me, by the way. Being content used to be like death. And now I'm like, I'm so content. And doesn't mean I'm not ambitious. I'm very ambitious.
Yeah.
But it has a completely different meaning now. Yeah.
So you just shared you do want a partner, and you do, want to grow a family. And are you open to whatever that looks like?
Yeah, I am. In fact, people are like, well, what are you looking for? And I was like, I'm a master manifester. I don't want to put out exactly what I think I want because I will get that. And there are certain feelings that I want to feel in a relationship.
Yeah.
And there are certain qualities and values that are important to me that are certain non-negotiables in ways. Honestly, being connected somewhat spiritually and to an awareness and a growth personally, that is very important to me. And so that is something that, is on my whatever imaginary list of what's possible. But I want to be living and vibrating in the place of my most authentic self for that to be what attracts whoever it is versus I'm going to put what I think I want and need out there and then literally force create it.
And are you open however the person identifies, whether they're a man or woman?
Yes, but I will say that I feel as if I am going to be with a man. Yeah.
And how are you sure you want kids? You mentioned that as well.
Yeah, which was a big, thing for me also. I have always wanted to be a mother. And then at one point I was like, I don't know if I do. That was one of my questions during that time because I don't know if that was my idea or if it was just what I'd been taught or told. And so that was part of my evolution of asking myself, I don't know if I want to be a mother. Let me sit with this and think if I do. And I've come to realize that I do. And however that shows up, because I don't know, if I will be able to, I have some health things too. And so like, I also have to surrender and trust and know that whatever's meant to be will present itself in a way and I can get creative to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
I've never heard you share about your dogs.
Yeah.
There's so many people that feel like their pets are their soulmates and they feel connected. And Oprah shared on this show that she is connected to past pets, that and their souls. And I know you shared just a moment ago about part of your unraveling journey and your two dogs. And I know you've shared, that they're no longer with you.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was from Coyotes. And have you ever talked about that or shared this?
I have not. And similar to why I haven't really talked about my relationship or my ex-husband and our marriage, is because those were the two things that were the most sacred to me. And I didn't feel like it was ever the right space or that I didn't want to give that to other people. Like that was the thing that I felt like I've given everything that is mine to hold. And so I really was like, I don't want to give that to everyone. That's the only thing that I can still hold on to that feels like mine. And with that, I also just recently let them go. Meaning, so they were killed by coyotes. I wasn't there. I was actually at our friends Rihanna and Morgan. They're getting married, and they were getting married, and they had their bachelorette party, and in Tahoe, and I had just arrived that night and went to sleep, and I woke up before my phone even rang, and I knew.
There's so much more coming up in this episode. You are not going to want to miss it. But first, I wanted to share this with you. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. When you build your self-worth, you change your entire life. And that's exactly why I wrote my new book, Worthy: How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life for You. If you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill, Worthy is for you. In Worthy, you'll learn proven tools and simple steps that bring life-changing results, like how to get unstuck from the things holding you back, build unshakable self-love, unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt, and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness, overcome limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, achieve your hopes and dreams by believing you are worthy of them, and so much more. Are you ready to unleash your greatness and step into the person you were born to be? Imagine a life with zero self-doubt and unshakable self-worth. Get your copy of Worthy, plus some amazing thank you bonus gifts for you at worthybook.com or the link in the show notes below. Imagine what you'd do if you fully believed in you. It's time to find out with Worthy. Imagine, what would you do if you fully believed in you? My weekly free inspirational newsletter is packed with tips and tools to help you find out. It's called One-on-One with Jamie, and it's delivered right to your inbox each Tuesday morning. It's a love letter from me to you, from my soul to yours, and I hope it brings you the words and messages you need at just the right moment. Plus, when you're a part of my free inspirational newsletter community, you'll be the first to get behind-the-scenes content, inspirational messages, and be the first to learn about upcoming events and more. It's the place to be, and I sure hope you'll join me there. So if you're not on the list yet, you can sign up for free at jamiekernlima.com or click the link in the show notes below. And here's to becoming unstoppable together. And now, more of this conversation together.
I woke up before my phone even rang, and I knew. And I picked up the phone, and my assistant at the time was just like screaming. And I said, like, where are they? Where are they? Just find their bodies. I just need to find their bodies. Please just find their bodies. So she did. I called my brother. I called Christy. They all came to the house. I don't even know how I got from Tahoe to LA. I blacked out completely. And I was, anybody who knew me knew that they were my kids, and like went everywhere with them. And so when I got there, they had cleaned them up, and they made an altar. And I was able to be with them and their bodies, at least, for like a day and a half before I went and cremated them. And I had friends come over, and there was so much love there. My family actually did fly out because, again, they were my kids. Like, everybody knew it. And there were even conversations like, man, we don't know what's going to happen when the girls eventually pass, because like they are so close. And so when this happened, it also was a total confirmation also that they had obviously represented unconditional love. And the fact that I've never had coyotes in my yard, I have gates and everything, and that they went together. One, I'm so grateful they went together. Two, I'm grateful that usually how it happens is very quick, and that we got their bodies. But when I was with them, it was actually a beautiful, beautiful experience. But I would spray lavender on their bodies because, after a day and a half, I the smell, obviously. And so I would spray lavender. on them. And then we went and cremated them, and my family, my sisters and my brother and my mom, we were all in the car. And as I came out and I had their like collars and little piece of their hair on my heart, I was like laying in the car, and it was a Tesla, and there was like a, the long windshield that's above. And there's the song from Gladiator at the very end when he passes on and he goes into the heavens with his family. That song played. My brother just stopped the car, and the sun was like pouring in, and I was like totally feeling them, and they were like kissing me, and like I was with them, and I felt their souls so clearly. And that was like, oh, so beautiful. But at that time I was like, oh, that was like the unraveling of like the absolute safety of like unconditional love. And I know I'm ready to like open my heart and experience what this means. And they served their purpose, and they're able to like move forward now. But for the longest time, I'd been holding on to them. I didn't want to let them go. Clearly what I just said earlier, which was, I wanted to keep him for mine. And then I did this energy retreat, which I do 4 times a year. And on this energy retreat, we talked about soul fragmentation. When something really tragic happens and a piece of your soul gets fragmented and it goes with whatever happened. And so for sure, I felt my soul fragmented and that they were still with my girls. And so I did like a retrieval of bringing my soul back and also giving their piece of them back to them too. Because I realized, oh, I'm holding them back also. Like they need to be able to move forward and move on. And so I did that soul retrieval. And there was a piece of me that never felt whole in the last few years. And when I did that, I felt very whole after that. And when that happened, I went home and I wrote a song for the book. And it's the water song with grief. And it's called Tiny Oceans. And it's in the book. I don't want to give too much away, but Lexi is the main character's name. And that is the name of my oldest dog, Lexi, who is my soulmate. And Harley was my baby. Very different relationships. But in the book, Lexi goes through a loss. And so I wrote this song, obviously for the book, but very intentionally about my soul fragmentation and that loss with my girls, and the worst kind of I think pain I've ever experienced of grief. And so with that, the song, there's even a line in there called or it says, some memories will always hurt like the smell of lavender. And like that obviously will still be there, but it also gives me great joy that they were there and that I was able to be with them during that time too. So yeah, so lots of, again, pain with, it's like this polarity and this, like whatever this resistance is that we experience in life, that resistance is what, again, like gives you that resistance to grow and that friction of something so beautiful and so maybe painful at the same time, but to find the gifts and the miracles in it is, I think, whether it's this book or whatever I do next to create, like that's the magic that I want to be able to put out into the world.
We often hear people talk about, the transformation of the caterpillar to the butterfly, and what so many people don't know is they use that as like, oh, I want to go on a journey and transform. And what a lot of people don't know is like, only 1 or 2 out of every 100 caterpillar ever makes it to a butterfly. And when they go through the transformation, like they completely liquefy inside the cocoon. They don't just go in a cocoon and then have wings and fly out. They like completely liquefy, right? And then they emerge through the cocoon. And when they emerge, they're at their most vulnerable state because their wings are wet. They can't fly. Like when they've gone through that transformation, right? They can't fly yet. And so they don't even know if their wings work, and they're, you know, susceptible to all kinds of things, falling to the ground or prey or whatever. And then of course, you know, when they get to that point, most are able to spread their wings, fly. And there's this illustration of a caterpillar looking at a butterfly saying, you know, you're so beautiful. Like, I want to be like you one day. And then the butterfly is like, oh, but I've been inside of you all along. And when I think about your book, Everything We Never Knew, and the main character, Lexi, which okay, let me just ask you this.
Yeah.
We can edit this out if you want me to edit that.
Go for it.
Is Lexi, the main character in Everything We Never Knew, you?
Yes, of course she is. I mean, what? We're the hero of our journey, right? Like always.
Yeah.
And if I'm seeing myself in a movie, or if I'm seeing myself in a book, I'm seeing myself, you know? And like the way that I wrote this was my hero's journey for sure. And
you wrote it in a way, though, where everyone's going to go on their own hero's journey through it, right?
Yes.
Through it. And and I'm just thinking, because there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this, listening to this, thinking like, okay, well, you know, I want to start a journey. I want to go on one, or how do I go on one in partnership? And I feel like this book can be a partner for someone, right, in this journey. And I want to ask you too a couple great questions about Everything We Never Knew, which is now out into the world, and your brand new music that you're releasing to go along with the book. The whole thing is a journey, an experience.
It is.
And the 4 elements, the 4 elements in the book. Can you share? Because one thing that you know, you and I were talking before this, and one of the things that you were talking about that I thought was really profound was how getting in touch with, you know, the first share the 4 elements, but also why this is important for everyone listening is like getting in touch with them can actually help you get in touch with yourself.
Yes, definitely. So there's so much wisdom in the elements, in nature. I mean, this planet, I mean, the water holds memory, you know, the earth is where, you know, it produces life, and the fire can, you know, it can heat you up. It can transform.
Take us through the 4. For anyone listening who's like, well, wait, what's the 4?
So earth, fire, water, air. And that earth can give you life. It is the roots of you know, the beginning. There's a lot to do with like family and mother and a lot of things there. Also inner wisdom and like deep ancient knowing. In water holds memory. It has the ability to be so powerful. It can, you know, create a tsunami, but it can also be extremely calm under the surface. If you go deeper, you're actually more in safety than on top of the surface of the chaos. You know, with your emotions as well. Obviously, water is very tied to that. There's also sensuality tied to your water. And especially when you mix the elements of fire and water together to create that steam, like that is, there's a sensuality to that. That I think we do, we suppress a lot because, you know, it's taboo or whatever it might be. Fire, you know, it can transform, you know, wood into ash. It can create, you know, fire. It can create heat. It can burn and destruct, but it can also be something so beautiful. There's all these polarities, by the way. And then air, you know, air is your creativity, your voice, speaking up. It also has this like divine connection of, you know, grace, being able to be poured into you and lift you up. And so these elements obviously live around us, but they also live within us. And I think that part of Lexi's journey is she gets like Mr. Miyagi'd by her mentor with, meditation and visualization and breath work, which were all modalities that really helped me connect to myself. But the elements specifically were about going inward. And I think a lot of the times we can go outward and again, go external and see all the things that will help us in our lives. But how do you go inward? And so one of the things that I love to do, and she does here as well, but asking yourself a question by tapping into the element. So I'm going to like close my eyes and I'm going to like breathe and like try to tap into the element of earth. And I activate all of my senses that way. Like, what does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And I really try to embody like, what does it feel like to be connected to earth? And as that starts to happen, I'll ask myself questions and the answers will just come up so quickly because the wisdom of earth, the wisdom of yourself in being grounded. And so that's at least for me. So that is my elemental constitution that I figured out. I created a quiz for people to understand your own elemental constitution. So I'm very water and air. My fire is active as well, but I don't have a lot of earth in my constitution. And earth is related to safety, stability, consistency, finances, all these things. And so those were things that were not really part of my constitution. I have to work to feel those things or connect to those things. And so being able to know what is my constitution, what are my balancing factors, where is my strength, where is my magnetism, where do I find my creativity, adding two elements together creates something different. And so having this quiz, and obviously in the book and in Kinergy, the elements just spoke so much to me in a way and in a modality to help me trust myself and trust my inner wisdom. And some people, like for me, earth is the hardest to connect to, but it's the one that gives me the most certainty and wisdom for me. Whereas some people might not have a lot of water or air, and to be able to know that and then find ways to cultivate that more or balance it more, so that you're more of a full spectrum of the elements, will just allow you to make really clear decisions and have that knowing and that clarity and the expansion of what's possible. And
everyone's all four, just in a different level of balance. So
we all have all the elements:
earth, air, water, fire. And you mentioned your quiz. So everyone listening or watching can find out what's their constitutional makeup of the four right now. And then reading a little bit more about, what are each of the four in terms of all the different layers in their own life. I know when you go to JulianneHough.com and you go to the drop-down menu, you go to everything we never knew, you can take the quiz. I took it.
You did.
And I did. And it just, you were right. It takes like about 5 minutes. It's really fast. And I was fascinated that for me, all four were a little bit close, but earth was the one in the 30s, 30+%.
Yeah.
So earth was my dominant one. And then the rest were less. And
I also want to point out Oprah is very earth.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is you're just saying this. When you and I met, I felt like we could have talked for hours. Like we just instantly connect. And what you're saying now too is like you're wanting more earth.
Yes.
Right? So it's interesting how energetically people can just kind of connect or kind of see.
Yeah. And I think, and to say more to that point, which is, even though I unraveled all the, layers of protection I put into place to protect me.
Yeah.
And those things were all really great as well. They just were coming from a wounded place that the little girl was making that decision. And my current self was not a part of that conversation. So finding your people that balance you is a great thing. You know, like, I mean, the fact that you're Earth and like, I'm like, I just feel this connection. You know, you want to bring people into your life that are also all of the elements as well, that balance and nurture. You don't want to be with the same people constantly. Otherwise you're just looking at your reflection. Like it's about give and take and being able to like exchange just
and people that help you grow
and help you grow.
Like I probably need to grow in air and water, you know, so it's like being like, around that, which is really good. So the quiz is really fascinating and to read about it. And then, you know, in the book, Everything We Never Knew, the quiz, the music that goes along with it. It's such a experiential journey. And for everyone listening right now or watching this, what is your hope for them? What would you say to them about what they're going to get out of the book when they get it home or when they listen to it on audio? What is it that they should expect and anticipate? And what journey are they about to walk into when they open that cover?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for going on this journey. I think one, you know, like I said before, it's a beautiful thing to be able to share and to feel known. So from myself to you, thank you for even wanting to know this book. For you listening or deciding to go on this like journey, it's going to show up however it needs to for you. If you just want an escape and you want to go into this like epic adventure of, you know, these heightened supernatural experiences that take you to, you know, a heartfelt place of, you know, watching someone else transform, you're going to get that. But if there is a part of you that starts reading this and you're like, oh, I relate to Lexi, or I relate to Holly, or I relate to Chloe. You know, like there are so many beautiful, rich characters that add so many layers to this story that they're all on different journeys too. So whether you relate to Lexi or not, there might be somebody else that you relate to in this book. And going on this, you know, journey, the sensorial experience, we all find different ways to connect to ourselves. Not one way is the right way. There is no right or wrong way. So I wanted to give different ways for people to experience the encoded energy of what this journey has been, which is all about transformation, you know, self-discovery, trust, and like absolute knowing of who you are. So you can either hear that through the music, you can read it in the book, you can go take your elemental constitution to see more about you. Whatever your language is, I'm hoping that through one of these outlets, someone might feel something.
I think too, for anyone who feels like, you know, we talked earlier about the whispers, right? You're like a year and a half ahead of time, I had whispers. And a lot of people are like, they're whispers and how do I learn to tune into them? Or it can actually transcend all of that in the sense of having supernatural experiences, right? And I don't want to give away too much from the book, but the main character can feel people's emotions and sometimes see things happening in their lives before they happen.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, if they ever have any of those experiences in their life, whether they get whispers or maybe they feel like they're having a supernatural experience, or they're connecting with another soul, or they're connecting with a soul who's no longer on earth, or any of those things, it is such a through line in this book, right? About what do you do when you have that happen?
Yeah.
And for you and your, so that's one thing. Anyone who's ever like had any type of an experience like that, I think that this book will be really exciting and really will really speak to you. And also, you know, when I wrote Worthy, and also with Everything We Never Knew, I think there's certain books that you can read them once and then you have this experience and then you might read it a second time 6 months later and you've actually you've grown, so you're now a different person, right? And then you actually have a different experience reading it then. And I think what's so beautiful about the unraveling and about learning to step into your authentic power and trust yourself and all those things is it's a lifelong journey.
It is.
And so this book, and I know there's a part 2 coming you shared, but it's just such a, I feel like it's something that so many people who are on that journey will connect to and see their own kind of story through, like you said, some of the different characters. In your life, do you just to ask this question, because if I don't ask this, gotta ask this, how often do you have supernatural experiences? Have you ever seen something happening? You mentioned earlier the dog and the number 12. Do you ever have conversations with a friend or a person at the grocery store, and do you actually see things happening in their future that haven't happened yet?
So back to the expansion and contraction thing, that was a massive activation that happened in December of 2017. And it was very consistent until my dogs died.
Wow.
Yeah. And I closed my heart. And that was like my experience. It was very consistent. I was starting to see color around different people. There was this one meditation that I was in, and there was probably I don't know, 200 people in this meditation. And there was this woman who I had only met one other time, and we didn't know each other really. It was just an interaction. And she was maybe 3 or 4 rows in front of me. And I was having a sensorial experience and this is where this really came from, the idea of taking this experience and really making it about this book. I was in this meditation and I had this overwhelming feeling that I was in Europe, somewhere in Europe. And I started smelling mold. And then I felt my hair was wet. And I felt like I was about, I don't know, between 3 and 5 years old. I wasn't sure, but I was like, oh, I'm really young. And I just felt this massive amount of abandonment from my father. And I was feeling this and I was like, this doesn't feel like mine. I don't, and this was one of my first experiences feeling this. So I was like, I don't know what I'm feeling right now. This doesn't feel like mine, but this feels so real. And then all of a sudden, I stood up and my heart opened and my hands literally went behind me like this. And I was like, whoa, I feel so loved by my dad. I sat down. I felt, the rest of the meditation go through. It was only a 10-minute meditation. And I came back to the room and I just knew that it was this woman. And so I went up to her and I said, would you mind sharing with me what your experience was just then? She goes, it was really profound. She's like, I had this memory of when I was 5 years old and I was living in Copenhagen with my parents, and my mom was at the hospital having my little brother, and we were rushing to go to the hospital. And I just remember my dad was blow drying my hair. And we were rushing out because it was cold outside. He didn't want me to catch cold. And when I got to the hospital, he just left me in the waiting room. And I just remember waiting there forever. And I've always felt my whole life that I've been abandoned, because when my brother was born, he has autism. And I just felt like my parents forgot about me at that moment. That was the end of me ever feeling like I was a priority to my dad, especially. And she goes, and then the craziest thing happened. All of a sudden, I just stood up and my heart opened and my hands went behind me. And I felt so much love from my father. And I was like, what the F? I was like, that is wild. Obviously, I didn't have those details within this experience, but I was having the senses and I was connecting to what the feelings were. And And so that was like the opening and like the activation of, whoa, that was a oneness experience that I just had with someone. And that's possible. Like, whoa. And so that started happening. I remember just feeling massive amounts of energy in my hands, and like the energy would move through my body, and to the point where, I've done, energy work now for about 10 years. And just recently I, was in a like energetic state, and all of a sudden I started just doing mudras out of nowhere, and like positions I've never read about or connected to, but I was doing these hand positions, and that's how people channeled, these yogis, in Eastern cultures, they would channel these positions in yoga. And so that was just happening recently. I was channeling these positions, and not unique ones that have existed for ancient, times. And so there's definitely like an opening again, because I think my heart opened. But that shut down. And I think because I associated this transformation with so much pain, I almost was a little like angry at it. And so I just kind of shut it down. And I remember it was back in like April, and I was like, you need to trust again, and you need to open your heart again. And that did not destroy your life. This changed your life, and like, this is, and not that it, like the supernatural experiences, but the trusting and the knowing and the creating of the space. This is God, and so as that happened, my heart started opening, the soul fragmentation came back, and all of a sudden things are starting to be more clear again. Yeah.
And your heart's open.
Yes, heart is open. Little God winks, little gifts pop into your life. You're able to receive them and have that trust and that knowing that there is a design and a plan at hand. And when you're open to receiving and trusting in yourself, trusting in whatever you want to trust in, that it's working for you.
So powerful, so beautiful. For everyone listening and watching who wants to grab the new music and do Kinergy and all the things, and of course, get everything we never knew and take the quiz, where's the best place for everyone to go to find everything Julianne Hough?
I would go to my website, juliannehough.com, and I just launched that too. Like, all these amazing things are kind of just happening at the same time. The book will be there. The music will be there. The quiz will be there. There are links to go and take Kinergy. Like I said before, there's my through line in this season of life and this next chapter, and not just a chapter, but like this next, forever of my life. I really I want to story tell, but I want the through line to be of transformation and connection to self and healing. And that can be through so many different mediums. It can be through music, through books, through media, entertainment, through Kinergy, through, what products, whatever it is, like that is my true north, my thread of what I want to put into the world. So whoever feels the urge or is aligned or it resonates with, you can find all of that stuff at my website.
And I feel like anyone listening, if you feel that whisper of like, oh, something about this is for me, that's how you know. And then you trust it, one step at a time, one book at a time, or song at a time, or quiz at a time. So I prepared so much for this and yet have not looked at a single question the entire interview. But what I do want to do is close on a quote from you. Okay. Because I think for anybody listening who is in that season of unraveling or about to be, or is going to, start making the decision to trust themselves, one step at a time. And I love this. You say, the me of a few years ago would have been like, I blew up my whole life. But the me of today is like, my whole life is ahead of me. Mm-hmm. And that is so beautiful and powerful. And for everyone listening, their whole life is ahead of them. It does not matter their age, doesn't matter what they're unraveling right now. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just such a beautiful perspective. So thank you so much.
Thank you for creating this space. Thank you for allowing me to come into this space and share things in a real vulnerable space. You gave me the courage to be able to share with everybody listening, which is the person that I want to be.
If you love today's episode too, my only ask is that you click the follow or subscribe button for the show on your app and give it a rating or review, and then share this episode with everyone you believe in. Share it with another person in your life who could benefit from it. Post it and share it with others online or in your community who just might need the words and tools and lessons in this episode today. You never know whose life you're meant to change today by sharing this episode. And thank you so much for joining me today. And before you go, I want to share some words with you that couldn't be more true. You, right now, exactly as you are enough and fully worthy. You're worthy of your greatest hopes, your wildest dreams, and all the unconditional love in the world. And it's an honor to welcome you to each and every episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. Here, I hope you'll come as you are and heal where you need, blossom what you choose, journey toward your calling, and stay as long as you like, because you belong here. You are worthy. You are loved. You are love. I love you. And I can't wait to join you on the next episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. Do you struggle with negative self-talk? Living with a constant mental narrative that you're not good enough is exhausting. I know, because I spent most of my life in that habit. The words you say to yourself about yourself are so powerful. And when you learn to take control over your self-talk, it's life-changing. And I wanted to give you a free resource that I created for you if this is something that could benefit your life. It's called 5 Ways to Overcome Negative Self-Talk and Build Self-Love. And it's a free how-to guide to overcome that negative self-talk, to build confidence and develop unshakable self-love so that you can dream big and keep going in the pursuit of your goals. Don't let self-sabotaging thoughts hinder your progress any longer. It's time to rewrite the script of your life, one filled with self-love, resilience, and unwavering belief. If you're ready to take charge of your narrative, build unwavering confidence, and empower yourself to persevere on the path to your dreams, you can grab your free guide to stop overthinking and learn to trust yourself at jamiekernlima.com/resources, or click the link in the show notes below. Who you spend time around is so important, as energy is contagious, and so is self-belief. And I'd love to hang out with you even more, especially if you could use an extra dose of inspiration, which is exactly why I've created my free weekly newsletter that's also a love letter to you, delivered straight to your inbox from me. If you haven't signed up to make sure that you get it each week, just go to jamiekernlima.com to make sure you're on the list, and you'll get your One-on-One with Jamie weekly newsletter and get ready to believe in you. If you're tired of hearing the bad news every single day and need some inspiration, some tips, tools, joy, and love hitting your inbox, I'm your girl. Subscribe at jamiekernlima.com or in the link in the show notes.
I am so excited for this book. You know why? Because it's going to save so many people. It's going to save people.
Worthy.
Your new beautiful book, Worthy.
Get this book.
This book, I'm telling you, it's a book that can change anybody's life who picks it up.
Anybody who's ever felt that they were not good enough, didn't measure up, something's missing in your life. I have to tell you.
It's powerful. It's happening. It's worthy.
Imagine, what would you do if you fully believed in you? I went from struggling waitress facing nonstop rejection to founder of IT Cosmetics, a billion-dollar company, by learning how to overcome self-doubt and believe I am worthy of my hopes and dreams. And I'm sharing how you can too in my new book, Worthy, How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life. If you're ready to truly trust yourself and break through that barrier of self-doubt, and know that where you come from, or even where you are right now, doesn't determine where you're going, then Worthy is for you. It's time to go from doubting you're enough to knowing you're enough. It's time to step into all of who you are and into the person you were born to be. And it's time to believe that you are worthy of it. Because in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. Join the Worthy movement today by grabbing your copy of Worthy anywhere books are sold. Then head to worthybook.com now for free gifts, including my 5-part course on becoming unstoppable and my 95-page Worthy Workbook action plan that teaches you how to implement the tools from the book into your real life right now.
Worthy is groundbreaking.
Yo, my God! Worthy, you are worthy.
This book is going to change lives.
This book literally will teach you how to actually feel worthy so that you can have the strength, you can have the confidence.
The lessons in this book and the strategies will change your life. You will never be the same again after you read this book.
Jamie's book, Worthy, is a must-read. It is going to inspire you, empower you, give you the hope that you need and the kick in the rear end that you deserve.
Jamie's book, Worthy, is incredible.
The gifts are going away, but they're all free right now on worthybook.com. It's such an honor to share this podcast together with you. And please note, I'm not a licensed therapist, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. If this episode impacted you and you want more, click here.